Yo, what is going on, homies? It is Spencer, aka King Downing, and Battlefield 2042 has finally received a notable update. Update 4.0 went through on April 19th, so we have some new settings to go over, and in this video, I'll be discussing basically the settings that I have changed since the update, and touch on the settings that they have added, and let you guys know what I have those set to as well. Starting right off here with General, nothing here has changed. Video settings. Now, I will tell you straight away in the description, I will put all the links to, first off, Freethy's channel and config, secondly, my config, and finally, the locations for the cache that you can delete all your temp files to get better performance, and also the 6 console commands. You can press this tilde key if you're on PC, pull open the console, type in some commands, get you some better performance if you are on PC. Here are those settings on video. I do a 1440p monitor running 94 FOV, brightness 45. All that'll kind of be personal preference for you, based off of what you have for your hardware. Enabled plus boosted. Future frame rendering, that is kind of up to you. That's a personal setting that I would play with, whatever is best for your rig. For mine, I have it off so it doesn't stress my CPU out. Moving on here to HUD General. Camera shake amount was lowered to the minimum value of 20. Previously, the lowest value you could select was 50. So go ahead and take advantage of that. Turn that down to 20. That's just going to make it that your screen isn't shaking a whole lot when intense moments are happening on the battlefield. That'll allow you to focus on your target, not get distracted by explosions or anything like that. Colorblind settings. I've gone back to my neon color scheme. I'm really happy that they introduced opacity sliders finally. This was a really big thing for me just because I like to take advantage of neon color schemes a lot. The reason being, most importantly, because I can set my enemy color to yellow. I find that to be the color that just pops off my screen. Play with it. It's going to be weird the first time you do it, if you do end up changing any of these settings. I'm running purple, pink, and like a baby powder blue for the custom neutral color. And it will be weird the first time you do it, okay? Don't be surprised if you're like, your brain is lagging behind and doesn't know what the hell's going on, because that's totally normal. You know what you wanted to change it to, your brain just has to comprehend and unlearn what it had before. But it's definitely worth at least experimenting with some colors and seeing, okay, which one really works for me. Moving on to HUD scaling. Now this one's interesting. This first one here has to do with the minimap and the player info in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you turn this to 125, it does make your minimap 25% bigger. I would highly recommend doing that. I wish there were more settings for this, but for now, we'll work with what we've got. 125 is what I find to be best. I like it maxed out. Player info scale and personal scale log and world log scale. It's going to be, I believe this is where it shows you the XP that you're getting. This one here is going to be the kill feed. And I'm sorry, this one will be your weapons right here in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. This one will be your XP that you're receiving. And this one right here will be your kill feed. So I kept all those 100 because I liked just the size they were at. And I turned these two down to 80 because I didn't feel like I needed them to take up as much room on my screen as they were. Crosshair. All of this is the same. I haven't changed anything. Just to note a couple things, I have the crosshair thickness and the damage indicator thickness set to thin, just so it takes up a little less room, kind of cleans up my UI. And I have my incoming soldier damage indicator tied to the color that I set my enemies to, so that I can correlate the two when they happen and basically know, okay, I'm getting shot by an enemy, or if I get shot and it's red, I know, okay, that's a vehicle. And then moving on to the minimap, shout out to my homie Habs he kind of helped me figure out a good value for this. I started at 180 and went down to 160, but we were discussing a good size that's big enough to see what's going on around you, but not too big to where you can't see the immediate threats that are near you. 160 is my sweet spot. Play with it. Somewhere in there is usually good. I play a lot of breakthrough, so I like to see both objectives a little bit if I'm in between the two. That's just my preference. As far as vehicles go, I talked about this in my last settings video. Crank it up to 300. You want to see incoming threats as early as possible. Minimap, texture opacity, and background opacity. This one's just going to be roads, buildings, terrain. That's going to show what is on your minimap. This is how much it is popping off of your UI. I turn this down to 50 and this down to 20 just so that I don't really need to see all the terrain and stuff. Like, I'd rather just kind of see the enemy dots and where they are. And then I made it 20 just so it's not super, super dark. And I kind of see through it if I've got threats in the lower left-hand corner of my screen. For the big map texture opacity, I don't really care. I turned this one down to 70 just so I can see through it a little bit. That's all I did there. If I do pull it up, you know, if there's stuff going on my screen, I'll see through it. Here's the big one, opacity sliders. Now, there's pretty much two things I want to hit on here. One, I run neons, so you need to keep that in mind. If you're not running neons, your values will be different because originally, if you guys remember, I was running pastels before, right? Now, with the update and opacity sliders, I'm back to neons. So what that means is the brighter neon colors are going to pop off more. So I choose to go with lower values because they do pop out so much. If you're not using neons, you might end up using slightly higher values. So keep that in mind. For my objective icons, I like 15. When I zoom, I like 1. That just seemed to be a nice balance for me to be able to see the objectives when running around, because I don't really need to see them that much. And that way they don't get in the way. And also when I ADS, it's just almost invisible. Friendly icons. Scale at 100, save with the revive icons. I run 50, 10, 20, 10. Moving on to squad icons, again, 100, 100, 60, 20 on both. I have my squad icons a little bit, the slider a little bit higher here than the friendly ones so that I can distinguish a squad mate from a blueberry. So I know, okay, this person's the person I'm making the play with, or if I'm not like paying attention to the like name tag or whatever, I know, okay, if I'm in comms with them or in a squad with them and we're like trying to attack an objective and potentially coordinate positioning, I know, okay, that's my buddy over there. That's a blueberry. Okay, cool. Enemy icons, crank them up to 100, keep them maxed out. And for the icon scale, I would recommend putting it all the way up to 150. Now, the reason this is because it's going to make the name tags 50% bigger than they were before so that you can see people easier based off of where their name tag is. And spotting in this game is really big, as you can't press Q and spot somebody anymore. You have to rely on somebody else to spot somebody. So if you do happen to get a teammate to get a spot off on an enemy, you're going to want to be able to see that. So I crank mine up to 150. Yes, when I'm next to enemies, they're huge. It's wide. It's thick. Okay. It's more noticeable. It's good. So keep it that way. You know, tell me in the comments below if you end up going with something else. If you find a sweet spot with that, I'd be really curious. Neutral icons, 30, 10, 100, ping, 60, 20. Play with it again as you like, you know, just tailor it to whatever you find to be the best values. Stick with it. Sound, nothing has changed here. I'm running 3D still. Voice chat, they added VOIP. This is pretty much the settings for that. It's really loud. I had to turn mine down to 4, like 3 or 4. This is just like the noise gate. So if people are like, I can hear you breathing in your mic, just turn your gate up to like 40, because it's all the way down to like -80. So it's designed to pick up everything. So that's useless information. Controller, I can't help you here. I play on mouse and keyboard. Nothing on these settings has changed. I am experimenting with sprint to vault over. I read the description and I'm going to give it a go. I might end up changing it back, but it basically says when it's disabled, basically the game will automatically be decided for you based on the depth of the obstacle, even if you're not sprinting. And I don't like that. So I'm going to go ahead and try turning it on so that I only vault when I sprint. Traversal sprint always on. The only thing that really has changed here is my coefficient. I'm experimenting on 68. I really like it. I will be making an updated sensitivity video very soon, specifically going over coefficient. We might touch some other topics as well, but I'll probably stick to the coefficient because Jedi put out some more information on the Jedi coefficient, and I think it's some really, really great stuff, and I want to explain that to you guys, kind of help you guys understand that. Anyways, moving on to vehicles, I haven't been able to change anything here because DPI Wizard hasn't been able to put out updated values for vehicles as of this video. I do still use mousesensitivity.com for all of my sensitivities, as it is the most accurate way to go about that. If anything in this video has helped you out up to this point, if you guys could drop a like just so it can spread and help other people out, that would be super awesome. I don't think there's too much more to go over here. Accessibility seems to just be a copy of the settings that we previously went over, but here they are if you'd like to see them. I will be going over my keybinds here in a second so you guys can see those. And for that, we go to here. So on foot, I still use W for sprint. Pause the video at any point if something, if I'm going too fast, you need to slow it down and check it out. I do run W for sprint, and I am using left shift for crouch hold so that I can crouch spam more in gunfights, and I'm using C for toggle. So if I go behind cover, I can simply tap that key and I stay behind cover. Laser's on by default, so that's really nice. I don't have to use my laser button quite as much. I don't really use it at all, really. I should unbind it because I keep tapping it on spawn thinking it's off. Moving on to gunner here. Nothing here has changed. The only thing that's really been updated with the game is they added separate settings for helicopter and pilot. So I believe pilot is probably Condor and Jet. Don't quote me on that. And then I would say helicopter is probably Little Bird, Attack Chopper, Hind. Here are my transport driver controls. Here are my pilot controls. The movement keys, I highly, highly, highly recommend using pitch up as left control. Pitch down as spacebar. It just makes it so that you have continuous input at all times when piloting. If you're on mouse and keyboard, you're at a big disadvantage if you're not using a controller because controller has continuous input. I use roll right on left alt. I tap it with my thumb, and roll right, or I'm sorry, roll left on caps lock. I just slide my pinky up and tap that. That is just something that has really made me a much better pilot, having continuous input, constantly being able to decide which direction I'm going in, getting around corners faster, dodging flares, so on and so forth. That is pretty much all of the settings. I will go ahead and jump into a game here. Let's hop into a Conquest game and just kind of check out what this is going to look like, just so you guys can kind of get a feeling for what my settings look like if you've never seen them before in a game. Okay, so here we are on Orbital in a game of Breakthrough, and as you can see, everything is nice and opaque. None of the objectives are really taking up my screen too much and distracting me from the information I want to see. See, enemies are popping off quite nicely. I can tell where my squad mate is, and top to bottom, it just makes for a better experience being able to see where everybody is. Not have to worry about certain nameplates or anything getting in the way. So I'd have to say top to bottom, these are my favorite settings. Closer. And let me know, like I said in the comments, if you guys end up going with something different, maybe something that you think is a little better. I'd definitely be curious to hear what you guys have to say. Otherwise, I hope this has helped you guys out and allows you guys to have better gunfights and an overall better experience out on the 2042 battlefield. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.